Welcome to Herd Mentality, a podcast from StoneX where we discuss global dairy markets and what's driving them. Remember that the trading of derivatives such as futures, options, and over-the-counter products or swaps may not be suitable for all investors. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss, and past results are not necessarily indicative of future results. We're recording this Tuesday, May 6th. With me this week is Fearghal McCabe. He's head of EU dairy brokerage out of the Dublin office. And I want to talk to Fearghal this week because we had the big ADPI conference in Chicago last week. And one of the points of discussion that came up a lot is the expectation that U.S. dairy exports are going to be very strong for the next couple of months. And a big driver behind that is the big price spreads that we have between the U.S. and Europe. Right now, we have European butter over 7,000 euros a ton, which is about $3.65 a pound. We have European cheese, depends on the variety, but somewhere between $2.20 and $2.40 a pound. And we have European skim that is still in that like $1.27, $1.28 type prices, at least on the forward curve. I guess I got to look at some of the spot prices might be a little bit lower. So it's opening up, or it looks like it's opening up some opportunities for U.S. dairy exporters. Maybe the most interesting one is butter. Fearghal, what's been happening with butter pricing in Europe?
Hey, Nate, thanks for having me on again. Yeah, looking at the butter market here, over the last couple of months since we've got into better milk production, we have seen a bit of a retraction on prices. So we've come down from, around the 7,400 level down now to around 7,150. But it's moving slowly lower. I think what we see on the European side is, we're still at what are high prices for the market to absorb. But when we do come down a little bit, the demand is there. So it seems on the European side, the market we know has been a little bit short coming off the back of last year. On the milk collection side, it is showing up. They are improving in Ireland, the UK, France, Germany as well, picking up. But I think that milk that's showing up with the producers hasn't shown up in the commodity markets yet. And that market is a little short still for the rest of the year. These lower prices, albeit it is moving lower, and that's expected this time of year, there is, still some demand coming in around, 7,000 to 7,150. We still see appetite from the buyers.
The EEX futures kind of put in contract highs in mid-March, and we're down from there. Like the trend kind of feels like it's down. When I've talked to our various team members from Europe over the past week, they all seem to lean bearish. I was talking to a few international traders at ADPI, and they were leaning a little bit bearish on European butter. But I did talk to someone last week that says the physical supplies of spot butter in Europe are still tight. Have you heard of any loosening up in terms of physical supply?
Yeah, I still hear the same, that they're a little tight. Most of the activity is happening, on the spot contracts on the physical side, but the prices aren't falling yet dramatically. I think, a lot of that maybe is down to producers having low stocks, potentially warehouses a little bit more space than normal. So far that product maybe is going into stock building, or the producers are holding on to it a little bit.
Just looking at StoneX Plus, our estimated European butter stocks, they're still down about 20% year over year in February. That's better than the 50% drop that they were sitting at for December. But when I look at it on a stocks to use basis, it would still argue for pretty expensive butter for the second half of this year. Now, we've also seen just a unequivocal downtrend for European skim milk powder futures. What's happening there?
Yeah, the skim milk powder, it's been under consistent pressure. Every time I come onto this podcast, I feel like I'm saying the same. It's just, with competitive export markets, and as well the move in the euro dollar, it's just sapping a little bit of demand away from European product. On the physical side, I don't hear of kind of new lows per se being made. But in general, we see the market still under pressure and pretty static, to be honest, and very reactive to any changes on the FX side.
There was an O'Neill tender last week into this week. Did that have any impact on the market?
And nothing huge from a price perspective on our side. It changed a little bit, maybe the trading patterns with some people, maybe holding on to product, focusing on what they could do there versus doing business on the future side. And the prices are pretty much are unchanged since before the tender. I heard it, the expectation when it came out was that it probably wasn't going to be one from Western Europe. And yeah, that it was a little bit of a non-story from a EEX pricing perspective. But of course, I think from an overall European demand perspective, it's welcome demand to the market, and with prices been under pressure, and obviously the export markets being more competitive and a little bit more saturated than normal.
We've seen maybe a surprising amount of strength in the U.S. cheese market, and I think a big part of that story is really on exports. What's been happening for European cheese prices?
Yeah, on the cheese side, it's a little bit harder to talk about. There hasn't been a whole lot of action. I would say it's similar to the butter side on the fat with the cheese. We do have buyers there just waiting at lower prices. There doesn't seem to be a lot of pressure on buyers to pay up. And a couple of weeks ago, we got quite a lot of activity on Mott's and Gouda at slightly lower prices. In recent times, we had more activity on the cheddar, a little bit lower, below 4,700. There's been some trading happening, but overall, the cheese market's been probably the most stable as well as whey. Probably the least action on our end, and I think it's similar to a combination of the other two. A little bit more in waiting mode, and not a lot of pressure from the producers to sell it lower. So I think what the whole market here is waiting for and talking about, and I agree with some of the comments you've got about expecting a little bit lower prices, but the whole market is waiting for that, but we haven't seen it show up from a producer side on the commodity markets yet. So it's likely maybe there's some stock building there, or they're not feeling the pressure since there is some demand maybe from end users who have waited to cover. So we could have a perfect storm for a lot of activity over the summer for the second half of the year here, where there's a lot of volume uncovered, better milk collections. So they'll meet halfway, and we should get a lot of activity in the coming months.
Yeah. You mentioned stronger milk production, and we have seen that in the numbers. I guess we should say we're shifting from production that's down year over year to production that's up slightly year over year. So it's not like we're looking at in the UK and Ireland maybe a wave of milk, but in the rest of Europe it's just an improvement in milk. It's not a massive oversupply of milk, but at least in my mind, the concern is around blue tongue. Is the weather warms up and the midges get out there and potentially start spreading that virus again. Is there much talk about blue tongue for this summer?
Yeah, I think it's something that people are looking at very closely. I think I'm not seeing it show up that much in the trade flows. And if you look back through it, probably when the foot and mouth disease was spreading over the last couple of months, I think people are keeping a close eye on it, but it's not really affecting what we're seeing happening from a pricing perspective. But of course, yeah, it's something we're getting asked about all the time. Colleague John and yourself having calls about it all the time. So people are very aware and concerned about it, but it doesn't seem to be something that's being priced in yet per se. But definitely a risk on both of those, blue tongue and foot and mouth disease.
Yeah. Well, with that, thank you for your time today, Fearghal.
No problem. Thank you.
The StoneX Dairy team spans the US, EU, Asia, and Oceania, providing market intelligence, analysis, and forecasts through our interactive data platform called StoneX Plus, as well as full-service brokerage on the major dairy exchanges, the CME, EEX, and SGX. If you're interested in finding out more about our market intelligence or brokerage services, you can find more information on stonex.com.
This communication is issued in the European Economic Area by StoneX Financial Europe SA, SFE by the SFE presenters noted. StoneX is the trade name used by StoneX Group Inc. and all its associated entities and subsidiaries. StoneX Group Inc. companies provide financial services worldwide through its subsidiaries, including physical commodities, securities, exchange-traded and over-the-counter, under derivatives, risk management, global payments and foreign exchange products in accordance with applicable law in the jurisdictions where services are provided. References to certain over-the-counter products or swaps are made on behalf of StoneX Markets, LLC SXM, a member of the National Futures Association NFA and provisionally registered with the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission CFTC as a swap dealer. SXM products are designed only for individuals or firms who qualify under CFTC rules as an eligible contract participant and who have been accepted as customers of SXM. Wealth management is offered through SA Stone Wealth Management Inc., member FINRA/SIPC, and SA Stone Investment Advisors Inc., and SEC Registered Investment Advisor, both wholly owned subsidiaries of StoneX Group Inc. StoneX Financial Limited SFL is registered in England and Wales, company No. 5,616,586. SFL is authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority registration number FRN 446,717 to provide to professional and eligible customers including arrangement, execution and, where required, clearing derivative transactions in exchange-traded futures and options. SFL is also authorized to engage in the arrangement and execution of transactions in certain OTC products, certain securities trading, precious metals trading and payment services to eligible customers. SFL is authorized regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority under the Payment Services Regulations 2017 for the provision of payment services. SFL is a Category 1 ring dealing member of the London Metal Exchange. In addition, SFL also engages in other physically delivered commodities business and other general business activities which are unregulated and not required to be authorized by the Financial Conduct Authority. StoneX Financial Europe SA, SFE is a securities trading firm registered in the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg under Company No. RC Lux B 10821. SFE is authorized by the Luxembourg Ministry of Finance and regulated by the Commission de Surveillance du Secteur Financier Registration No. P00000-012 to carry out, inter alia, the activities of investment advisor, portfolio manager, professional acting on own account, broker in financial instruments, and commission agent. StoneX Financial Pte Ltd Co. Reg. No. 2011305988R SFP is regulated by the Monetary Authority of Singapore and is a capital market service licensee for dealing in capital market products, an exempt financial advisor for advising on investment products and issuing or promulgating analyses/reports on investment products, and a major payment institution for cross-border money transfer service. StoneX Financial HK Limited C.No. BCQ 152 SHK is regulated by the Hong Kong Securities and Futures Commission for dealing in futures contracts. StoneX Group Inc. acts as agent for SFL in New York with respect to its payment services business. StoneX Financial Thai Limited SFA Akin 141774727 holds an Australian financial service license and is regulated by the Australian Securities and Investments Commission AFSL 345646. StoneX Securities Co. Limited SSJ Co. Reg. No. 010401047199 is regulated by the Japanese Financial Services Agency as a Type I Financial Instruments Business Operator. Kanto Local Finance Bureau FIBO No. 291 is a member of the Financial Futures Association of Japan for dealing and broking FX and FX option transactions, and is a member of the Japan Securities Dealers Association for dealing and broking stock indices and option transactions. The information herein is not a recommendation to trade nor investment research or an offer to buy or sell any financial product. It does not take into account your particular investment objectives, financial situation, or needs, and does not create a binding obligation on any of the StoneX Group Inc. of companies to enter into any transaction with you. You are advised to perform an independent investigation of any transaction to determine whether any transaction is suitable for you. This material should be construed as the solicitation of an account, order, and/or services provided by the FCM division of StoneX Financial Inc., SFI NFA ID 0476094 or StoneX Markets LLC SXM NFA ID 0449652 and represents the opinions and viewpoints of the individual authors or presenters and does not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of SFI or SXM. It does not constitute an individualized recommendation or take into account the particular trading objectives, financial situations, or needs of individual customers. Additionally, this material should not be construed as research material. The trading of derivatives such as futures, options, and over-the-counter products or swaps may not be suitable for all investors. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss, and you should fully understand the risks prior to trading. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future results. All references to and discussion of OTC products or swaps are made solely on behalf of SXM. All references to futures and options on futures trading are made solely on behalf of SFI. SXM products are intended to be traded only by individuals or firms who qualify under CFTC rules as an eligible contract participant and who have been accepted as customers of SXM. SFI and SXM are not responsible for any redistribution of this material by third parties or any trading decisions taken by persons not intended to view this material. Information contained herein was obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but is not guaranteed as to its accuracy. Contact designated personnel from SFI or SXM for specific trading advice to meet your trading preferences. SFP may distribute analysis/report produced by its respective foreign affiliates within the StoneX Group of companies pursuant to an arrangement under Regulation 32C of the Financial Advisors Regulations. Recipients should contact Act SFP at 6563091000 for any matters arising from or in connection with this podcast. No part of this material may be copied or duplicated in any form by any means or redistributed without the prior written consent of StoneX Group Inc. The podcast herein is not directed to or intended for distribution to or use by any person or entity who is a citizen or resident of or located in any locality, state, country, or other jurisdiction where such distribution, publication, availability, or use would be contrary to law or regulation. Copyright 2024 StoneX Group Inc. All rights reserved.